Hey, you guys. Today we're going to go over dividing decimals. Before we do that, though, fact number 20 about me. I love Jimmy John's. Favorite sandwich place. Love it. My go to order is number one. I can't remember the name on the menu, but it's number one. It has ham, Swiss cheese, lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, and I always add extra onions. It's my go to sandwich. Love it. And I always get a bag of barbecue chips. They have the best chips at Jimmy John's. They're the really crunchy kettle cooked ones. And typically, what I do, I always pour half the bag. Like I'll open the sandwich and then pour half the bag on the inside, and then close it and get that extra crunch. Love it. My favorite thing. So Jimmy John's, it's the best. All right. And anyway, let's get back to the math. Today we're going over dividing decimals. We're on the pen. Perfect. So every division problem has two numbers, right? The first number and the second number, of course, and these have a math word. This first one is called the dividend. The second one is called the divisor. The divisor is actually doing the dividing. It's going to be the one to actually split this number up. All right? So, whenever I'm setting up a problem, actually, I don't need to erase that. Whenever I'm setting up a problem, the dividend always goes inside the box. All right? So, 0.82 goes inside the box, and then 2 goes outside. Now, some kids were trying to do that keep, change, flip method and trying to flip the decimal and turn this into a multiplication problem, and that's only for fractions. We don't do that whenever we have decimals. So this, I get to go like old school long division, like back in elementary school days. All right, so looking at this, I'm going to go through and start dividing. In case you're a little rusty on the division steps, it goes in this order right here. Divide, multiply, subtract, and bring down. And my teacher always said, I'm sure you guys might have heard something similar. My teacher always said, does McDonald's sell burgers? The answer is yes, and they have incredible burgers. That is how I remember the steps for division in case I ever forget them. So, step number one, divide. 2 into 0, can't do that. So, I'm going to look for the next number, 2 into 8. This number right here, 2 into 8, that goes 4 times. 2 times 4 gives us 8. 0, that's the subtract step. I'll bring down the 2, and then I start over again. 2 into 2 goes once. 2 times 1 is 2. Subtract, I get 0, nothing to bring down. I am done. And my decimal, wherever it was inside the box, I just get to bring it straight up. And that's where it goes inside my answer. So I can put a 0 up there to make it look really nice. There's no negatives involved. Just 0.41. Great. Let's look at the next one. The dividend, the first number, always goes inside the box. 2.96, 3 on the outside. And now I get to go. And now I get to go and go ahead and start dividing. So 3 into 2, can't do that. It's a 0. 3 into 29, I can do that. 3 goes into 29 9 times. 3 times 9 is 27. I'll subtract and get 2. Then I'll bring down and get a 6 right here. 3 into 26, that goes 8 times. 3 times 8 is 24. I'll subtract and get 2. Now, I still have a remainder left, but I'm dealing with decimals, not fractions. So whenever this happens, I'm going to go through and add a 0 on the end of this number. I'm going to go ahead and bring that 0 down. Remember, because you can add as many zeros to the end of the number, and it doesn't change the number. So I'm going to do this until I get a nice repeating decimal or a terminating decimal. Okay? That's what I'm looking for. 3 into 20, that goes 6 times. 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract, I get 2. I can add another 0. But wait, we were just at this step. I know if I do this step again, I would put another 6. I would get 18. I would subtract and get another 2 and bring down the 0 and get another 20. This 6 is going to be repeating. So whenever we have a repeating decimal, we put a line over the top of it. And then I bring the decimal wherever it was in the box. I bring it straight up. I have no negative numbers. I get 0.986 repeating. That is my answer right there. Let's go down and look at the next one. Let's see. 1 second. There we go. Perfect. All right, let's move this out of the way a little bit. Get back on the pen. There we go. This one, negative 0.66 divided by negative 0.03. Wow, that looks kind of difficult. But I remember the dividend, always that first number, it goes in the box. So 0.66, 0.03. Notice how I'm not including the negatives? When I include the negatives in division, it kind of makes it look a little messy and a little confusing to me. What I do, I get my answer and then I always, and it's become my habit now, I can't help it. I always go back and double check, wait, do I have a negative or a positive answer? I have to go look back at the problem. So I know in this one I'm gonna end up with a positive answer because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Now let's look at this. 0.03 into 0.66. Yikes. That's really hard. I have no idea how to even think that way. These decimals, these small numbers, that's really difficult. So whenever the number on the outside, only the number on the outside, whenever it is a decimal like this, I'm going to move the decimal and turn it into a whole number. I moved it 1, 2 spaces. Whatever I do on the outside, I gotta do on the inside. 1, 2 spaces. So now, look at this problem now. It's actually 3 into 66. That is a much more manageable problem. I could do that. There we go. It's the same exact problem. I get the same exact answer. I've just made it a lot easier on myself. And remember, we only do it when the divisor is a decimal, when it's not a whole number. Notice the problems above. The number in the box was a decimal, but the divisor was a whole number. I didn't have to move anything. I'm moving this because the divisor is not a whole number and I need it to be. So let's go ahead and look at this. 3 into 6, that goes twice. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract, I get 0. Bring down the 6. 3 into 6 goes twice. There we go. 3 times 2, 6. And I get 0. There's nothing left to bring down. I'm left with a nice 0 right here, so I don't have to do anything else. The decimal, we moved it right there, and I just get to bring it straight up from the box, so I get 22. I know it's a positive because I had this negative divided by a negative. Let's look at this one over here. Negative 6.32 divided by 0.8. I mean, I know right off the bat my answer is going to be negative because I have a negative divided by a positive. Let's go through and set this one up. The dividend, it's the first number. It goes inside the box. 6.32. Make our box. 0.8 goes on the outside. Now look, the divisor, this is 0.8. I want it to be a whole number because I can do that kind of division. This division is really hard, really tough. So I'm going to make this a whole number because that is going to make it so much simpler for me. So to make it a whole number, I'm going to move it once because that's all it takes to make this a whole number this time. Notice how last time I had to move it twice to make it a whole number. This time, I only have to move it once. Whatever I do on the outside, I'm going to do the exact same on the inside. Move it once. And now my new problem is this. 8 into 63.2. That's my new problem. And that is much more manageable. I can do that one. Let's look at this. 8 into 6 goes 0. I can't do that. So now I'm looking 8 into 63. That goes, let's see, 7 times. 8 times 7 is 56. Subtract, I get 7. I bring down the 2. 8 into 72, that goes 9 times. 8 times 9 is 72. Oh, I subtract and get 0. That's great. No extras over here. It's just a nice 0 to end with. I'm going to bring the decimal up here, put it straight up above where it was in the box. And now I had that negative answer because I remembered it was a negative divided by a positive. So negative 0.7, negative 0.7.9. Do you need this 0 in the front? No, you don't. You could just write this as negative 7.9. Perfect. Let's look at this one down here. So negative 8.416 divided by 0.02. Wow, that one looks kind of difficult. But we're going to set it up and make it a little easier on ourselves. I have a negative divided by a positive. I know that's going to give me a negative in the end. So the dividend is the first number. It goes inside the box. 8.416. The divisor goes outside. 0.02. Now look, the divisor, once again, is a decimal. It's not a whole number. I need it to be a whole number. So I'm going to move it 1, 2 spaces. Now it's a whole number. It's 2. I'm going to move the same exact way inside the box. 1, 2. I'm going to rewrite the problem to make it a little easier to read. So now I have 2 into 841.6. Oh my gosh, what is going on? 1 second. Oh, perfect, got it. 841.6. There we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and start dividing. 2 goes into 8 4 times. 2 times 4 is 8. Subtract, I get 0, bring down the 4. 2 into 4 goes twice. 2 times 2 is 4. Subtracting is 0. Bring down the 1. 2 into 1 goes 0 times. 2 times 0 is 0. Subtract, I get 1. Bring down the 6. 2 into 16 goes 8 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Oh, I end up with a nice 0 at the very end, so I don't have to add zeros over here. I am done. And my decimal comes straight up from the box and goes into my answer. Like I said, this is a negative because I had that negative multiplied. Or I'm sorry, that negative divided by a positive. Negative 420.8. And let's look at the last one. This is 3.96 divided by 0.004. Wow, that looks tough. So let's write it out. The dividend is the first number, and it always goes inside the box. 3.96, fix that box. 0.004 is the divisor, and it goes outside. Notice how the divisor on the outside is not a whole number. I need it to be. To make it a whole number, I'm going to move the decimal 1, 2, 3 spaces. And whatever I do on the outside, I have to do on the inside. 1, 2, 3. Hey, but notice, look, there's no number here. Whenever there's no number here, I can add a 0. All right? So now I'm going to rewrite it to make it look a little easier. 4 into 3,960, and that decimal is way over here. Okay, let's go through and start dividing. 4 into 3, can't do that. 4 into 39, that goes 9 times. 4 times 9 is 36. Subtract and get 3. Bring down the 6. 4 into 36, oh, that also goes 9. 4 times 9 is 36. And I'm left with 0. Hey, I think maybe I'm done. And a lot of kids think that. But please be very careful. Whenever we have numbers inside the decimal, I have to bring all those down no matter what. Even if I have a 0 right here, there is still a 0 on the inside of the decimal that I have to bring down. It's such an easy step to forget. You think that whenever I have zeros on the end, and there are unlimited zeros on the very end of this, I don't have to bring these down, but if it's in front of the decimal, that's the reason that number is 3,960 and not 396. It's because that 0 is on the inside of the decimal. Please don't forget to bring it down, okay? If it's before the decimal, you have to bring it down and still work with it. 4 into 0, that goes 0 times. 4 times 0 is 0. Subtract, and I still get 0. So I'm going to bring the decimal straight up from where it was in the box. And now this number is 0990 decimal, otherwise known as 990. I don't have to include that first 0. 990, and I don't have to include the decimal either because this worked out to be a whole number. But if you did, that's fine too, no worries. All right, and that is all those problems on here. And yeah, division's kind of tough, but it is doable. All right, so thank you guys for sticking around to the end of the video, and I'll see you in class.